All right. Warm greetings to everyone present here. Thank you for being here. So before we start our event, I'd like to introduce Friends of Elephants. Well, it's not an organization and nor does it aim to become one. It's an informal group of people coming together with varied expertise concerned about elephants and other wildlife. The group is a forum for disseminating knowledge linked to elephants and other wildlife science, conservation, and welfare through art, culture, literature, movies, talks, and panel discussions. These events began in 2014 in Bangalore, and now since 2020, these events have been conducted online through various platforms. The whole idea is that people who have attended our events, formally or informally, participate or help in developing appropriate conservation and welfare measures for wildlife, including elephants. Moving on, so today's event, Friends of Elephants and Their Corridors, is in collaboration with the Wildlife Academy and Gaza Conservation Trust. Here's the event plan to be followed for this evening. First of all, there will be a talk on elephants' ecological role as mega herbivore and the importance of corridor structural integrity, which will be delivered by Ms. Priyanka Borah, followed by a conversation between Dr. Bhaskar Choudhury and Ms. Priyanka Borah, and we'll end our event with a Q&A session moderated by Mr. Sayan Banerjee. All right, let me introduce myself. I'm Afnan Anwar from Gwalpara, Assam, currently pursuing my master's in environmental biology and wildlife sciences at Cotton University. I have a I have always had a deep interest in reptiles, especially snakes, which inspired me to take this academic path. I always enjoy learning, sharing knowledge, and being a part of conversations that contribute to wildlife conservation and awareness. So, today I have this opportunity to introduce the event, and I'm delighted to do so. And I shall be taking you all to this entire event today. First of all, as mentioned, there will be a talk on elephants' ecological role as mega herbivore and the importance of corridor structural integrity by Ms. Priyanka Borah. I'm honored to introduce Ms. Priyanka Borah, who is a wildlife enthusiast and an ecologist from Assam, currently enrolled as a PhD student at the Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and Environment in Conservation Science and Sustainability Studies. Her background is in zoology. During her master's thesis, she studied seed dispersal by Asian elephants in Rani Gorbanga Reserve Forest, Assam. Later, she joined the Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun in Kaziranga Karbi Anglong landscape and also worked for understanding large mammals movement in the corridors. Also, she has worked with local communities, understanding their perceptions and attitude towards large mammals. So, ma'am, I request you to kindly begin your talk. Hello, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, thank you, Afnan, for the beautiful introduction.
All
I
right,
shared my screen now.
all right, ma'am.
Let me know if it's visible.
It's not visible, ma'am.
Okay, just give me 1 minute. Can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
1 second, just 1 second. Okay, is it full screen? Is it on full screen?
Yes, ma'am. You can continue.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Friends of Elephants team that they have given me the opportunity to speak today. It's like an honor to speak about such an important conservation species, and it's an iconic species which we all love, and few of us had the opportunity to know about it ecologically and deeply. So today I'll be talking about the elephant's ecological role as a mega herbivore. Before beginning that, I would like to run through the overview of elephants, the status of elephants in Assam. So the recent population estimation of elephant in Assam was conducted in the year 2024, last year, and the total population it stands at 5,200, 5,828 individuals. A majority of these elephants were found within the protected areas, and some of them were found in managed forests, that is the reserve forests, and very few were found outside protected areas like the revenue areas, human dominated landscapes, agricultural landscapes, river banks. So these protected areas, they are the critical prime habitats for elephants as it seems, but the managed forests or the reserve forests, they play important role because they serves as an important region which requires landscape level approach for the conservation of elephants in Assam. And about the human dominated landscapes, though fewer individuals were found, but these zones are very critical because there are higher chances of human intrusion which might lead to negative interactions. Thus, these play crucial habitats also through a lens of conservation. These human-dominated landscapes, they are very important in the context of elephants. So Assam, it has five elephant reserves, and it was found that the highest population was found in the Shirang Ripu Elephant Reserve, which is towards the western part of Assam, and this allows transboundary movement of elephants to Bhutan. The next highest population was found in Kaziranga Karbi Anglong landscape, and followed by Dihing Patkai, Sunitpur, and Dhanshri Lamding elephant reserves. Now, these all these elephant reserves, they have very diverse habitats. So, Dihing Patkai, it has tropical semi-evergreen forest. On Kaziranga and Manas, it has grasslands, mixed moist deciduous forest. And then the Barak Valley and Karbi Anglong, it has tropical wet evergreen forest. There are riparian forest or the river banks. It also serves as important habitats for elephants, and those habitats consist of the floodplain vegetation like the tamarisk species, which we call as chowbon, and some of the tall grassland species. So, interestingly, it was also found during the population estimation that the elephant population density, it was highest in the Shirang Ripu region, most probably because of good habitat structure, because there are protected areas like the Manas and Raimona, it's there, and it's connected with Bhutan. It's a larger landscape, and the lowest density was found in Dhanshri Lamding. So this might be because of heavy encroachment which have reduced the elephant presence there. And interestingly, the population in Assam, elephants population, has remained relatively stable, like it has been around 5,000 individuals approximately since 1993. So this can be this is noteworthy because elephants, they face multiple challenges in the landscape, like habitat loss and fragmentation, then increasing human elephant negative interactions, and electrocution, and many other environmental problems, but still their population has remained stable, and this might be because of their resilience nature. Also, like they have a very strong ecological memory and traditional movement paths, so they always follow those paths and navigate the fragmented landscapes. But what we should take as a reminder is that numbers might not, like, might appear stable, but they should not be taken mistaken for security. Like, if the numbers are stable, it does not mean that the whole population is not at stake. There might be other problems, like because of fragmentation and loss of connectivity, there might be loss of genetic diversity, gene exchange might be shrinking, and there might be increased mortality, or there might be an increased negative interactions in the human elephant interfaces. So elephants, they require, we all know they require a large home range to maintain a genetic flow, and they adapt to seasonal changes by foraging at larger distance. In Assam protected area network, it only covers like 20% of the whole area, Assam geographical area, and elephants, they naturally move beyond these boundaries into this managed forest and human use areas. So elephants and their relationship with the forest or their habitats is not one-sided. While the elephant is dependent on the on good habitat for their food, nutrient, and shelter, the landscape or forest, they are also dependent on elephant because of its ecological role as mega herbivore. Like, they help in the regeneration of forest. So elephants, they are keystone species, and they act as ecosystem engineers. So what they do is, as large mega herbivore, when they move, they make trails. While making trails, they clear some of the forest area which support new plant growth. And what they do is, while foraging on large trunks of the tree or bamboos, they clear out canopy so that the sunlight can invade into the forest ground, which also helps in plant growth. But the most important role that elephants play is that they disperse seed of many plant species directly and indirectly. So this helps in the dispersal of seeds at a larger distance, because elephants have a large home range, and the dung of the elephant also provides nutrients to this plant species, which allows them to germinate faster. Thus, restricting elephant movement in fragmented landscape can have far-reaching consequences. Like, it can affect the overall health of the ecosystem, or because elephant, they have an umbrella effect on all the organisms in the ecosystem. So the most critical ecological role that I was speaking about is seed dispersal. So why seed dispersal is necessary is because for sedentary organisms like plants, they need to disperse their seeds for their um, good germination, to reduce competition, and to create more viable populations at larger distance. So seed dispersal, it occurs through various media, like there are biotic factors and abiotic factors. Abiotic factors like wind, water, and air, and there are certain mechanisms where the seed explodes and seeds are dispersed. But there are biotic factors like animals, insects, birds, and large mammals, humans too. Large mammals, here comes the role of elephants. So what elephant it does is that, when some of the tree, they have seeds with hard coat, so these coats are not easily like they can't germinate easily. So what large herbivores do, or elephants do, is that they intake the fruit and along with the seed, and then because of larger gut retention time, the seed remains in the stomach for a longer period of time, and digestive enzymes act on it, which is why the seed coat gets dissolved. And when the elephant defecates, the seed comes along with the dung, and because the elephant is moving to a longer distance, it will be dispersed to a longer distance, A, and B, it will also get the nutrients from the dung, which will help them to germinate faster. So, some of the plant species or tree species in Assam, like elephant apple and Garcinia or Artocarpus, these have very hard seed coat, which requires megaherbivores to disperse their seeds, and elephants play this critical role. So, during my master's thesis, I did my dissertation on seed dispersal by elephants in Rani Garbhanga Reserve Forest, and it's located in the outskirts of Guwahati city. So this area also falls in a important elephant corridor, and it's near the Ramsar site, Dipor Bill. It's near the airport area. It's a highly fragmented landscape, and with human settlements and encroachment, and there is felling and logging of trees. So I was very curious when I came to know that elephants disperse seeds, and I started my work with collecting dungs from the forest area. Randomly, I went to points and I collected dungs, and I brought it back to the laboratory. I sieved those dungs and then collected all the seeds, but it was very difficult to identify those seeds, and thus I planned to plant it in the soil and waited for them to germinate. And to my surprise, after germination, I found 21 species of plants. But those were not all native plants, agricultural crops were also there. So the study offered very important insights. Though it was a short study, it was just for 3-4 months during my dissertation period, and there were not many samples, but it made me gain some of the insights. Like, firstly, elephants, they do play good role in forest regeneration by dispersing diverse plant species, but the presence of cultivated crop seeds in their dung also indicates that their foraging in agricultural fields can unintentionally lead to spread of non-native or domesticated plants into forest habitats. Because since I found collected those dungs from the forest, and I found cultivated seeds in those dungs, so it might be that in longer run, if elephants are feeding in human foods or paddy or cultivated crops, so it might be a fact that the forest structure in the longer run over time can change, can get affected. And additionally, this also, like, the challenges the common myth that elephants, they raid crops solely because there is no food in the forest. So elephants are generally species, and they will consume a wide variety of plants that as they move, which comes on their way. And this is more about their movement behavior and dietary flexibility rather than a food scarcity thing inside the forest. So they will feed on forest plants. They will also feed on plants that is found outside while moving. Um, so there's the questions that leaves us here is that in the long run, will elephants still continue to fulfill the same ecological role in the forest as they historically or they currently are doing? And as they consume more cultivated crops due to landscape fragmentation and increasing human presence, there is a concern that the dispersal of native forest species may decline. This could gradually alter forest composition and structure, and there might be a chance that plant species which require only mega herbivores to disperse their seed, they might get lesser chances of dispersal. Moreover, are these cultivated crops, they are nutritionally sufficient for elephants? While they are high in calories, they may not provide the diverse nutrients elephant require, potentially impacting their health and reproductive success. So this brings us to a crossroads where we must ask, like, how do we ensure that our landscapes allow elephants not just to survive but to continue thriving as ecological engineers. So these are the 21 species that I got from my study, and you can see there were grass species also, like the Cynodon dactylon is a grass species, and there were small species. So as I said, elephants are generally species. So when they feed on some targeted species, and because of their trunk, they just happen to take a lot of other plant species to inside, and that is how other plants like also gets their seed dispersed. So the large trees like Dillenia is the elephant apple, Tamarindus indica is tamarind, Gigifus, and Philanthus. There is Artocarpus, which is like the jackfruit family. It's jackfruit family. A cultivated plant, and there is Bohemia. Cultivated plants like Citrus grandis, which is the grapefruit, and there is loofah, ridge gourd, sponge gourd, and oryza paddy is there. So these were the species that I found during my study. So next I want to talk about like elephants and corridors. So while we are speaking about elephants moving and they have larger home ranges, so as long ranging animals and their ability to move freely across landscapes, it is critical for maintaining their gene flow, accessing seasonal resources, and fulfilling their ecological roles. So that is why elephants, they need to move. And thus as I already said, restricting their movement will not only inhibit their ecological functions, but also it will disrupt the larger ecosystem. But however, elephant movement across increasingly human dominated and fragmented landscapes brings into question the functionality and viability of existing corridors. So in Kaziranga, this is just a example or case study. Like when I was doing my study in Kaziranga Karbi Anglong landscape, and we were conducting camera trap surveys in the corridors. This was not specifically targeted for elephants. We were doing it for large mammals and tigers, but as we could collect data for elephants, and we did, and this was just an observation that I am going to share with you. So historically there were 4 corridors in the Kaziranga Karbi Anglong landscape, and then they have like divided into 9. Now there are 9 designated corridors, and out of those corridors, like this Amguri, Kanchanjuri, Haldibari, and Panbari, at that time it was 4. We could see that Amguri and Kanchanjuri had like the highest elephant activity comparatively, and Panbari, followed by Panbari, and then the least activity was found in Haldibari. This was also a factor of how many camera traps that we could place. So it's just an data that shows that elephant activity was found more in Amguri corridor. But we also conducted sign surveys, and yes, elephants were using those corridors extensively. But the national highway that passes through the Kaziranga and the Karbi Hills, across the Karbi Hills. So along that national highway, what has happened is that tea cultivation has increased, which has encroached the corridor area. Now people or local community, they what they do is that, because elephant raids on paddy, and or the paddy, like the crop, it gets the damage when elephant moves across the paddy fields. So people tend to, they shift their cropping pattern to something that cannot be destroyed by elephants, like the tea plantations. So tea, elephant doesn't do anything to tea plantation. They just move across those areas, and those are shared spaces, by the way. They are heavily used by local communities, livestock, and, as I said, increasingly fragmented and encroached. So these tea plantations, assumed by people, it's a conflict-free crop, and that's why locals, they tend to do tea plantations. Also, there are many tea plantation companies there, which has been there from the historical times, running smoothly. So these are monoculture patches where they are increasing, they're expanding those areas into the corridors, and they are encroaching the corridors and expanding the tea plantation areas. And monocultures where you will see only Albizia species in the tea plantation area. So elephants, they use this tea plantation area, but uh, during the night time they move along these patches, and then they move inside the forest, like nearby forest. So the Karbi Hills, which are also very much disturbed because of the Jhum cultivation, which is normally slash and burn cultivation. They cut the native plants, and they burn it, and then they clear the forest, and they plant they plant bamboo, and they plant what do you call, the broomstick plant. So those cultivations they do, and that is shifting cultivation. And we conducted camera trap across the whole corridor length. We did sign surveys. So while we could see active elephant movement on the, like, near the Kaziranga part, and near the highway area towards the southern end of the Karbi Hills, it was found, like, we could not find any signs of elephants. And local communities, they also mentioned that fewer to no herds in the recent years they have seen. So it was just a quick realization or questionable moment where we could not understand, like, why elephants are just moving to a certain distance, and then they are not coming throughout the whole, like, passing through the whole corridor using the full corridor stretch. And selectively they are moving through certain patches, and they, where there are tea plantations, and then they will just move inside to some dense forest patch area, and then they will stay there. So this raises an important question about the structural integrity and functionality of these corridors. So if corridors are degraded and fragmented or replaced by monocultures, do they truly serve the purpose of facilitating elephant movement? And more deeply, like, how is the elephant's relationship with the forest changing in these altered landscapes? Like, such observations challenges the assumptions that while designated corridors are automatically functional, like, if we have made a corridor, then it can be automatically functional, which is not true. It requires the certain amount of forest composition which is viable for elephants to provide them proper nutrition. And thus there is an urgent need for not just protecting the corridors, the movement pathways, but also to understand what kind of plant structure is there, and if it's not there, how we can help in restoring the ecological quality of those corridors. So this is the Karbi landscape where there is extensive June cultivation, slash and burn cultivation, and it's the locals that said that they do not find any elephants in their landscapes now, but before there were many. And we also could not find any signs, and no photographs in camera traps. And these are the tea plantation area where, so on the northern side is the Kaziranga Tiger Reserve, then comes the National Highway, and on each side of the National Highway there are the tea plantations. So it acts like a mosaic between the Kaziranga and the Karbi Hills. So this is a larger map of all the corridors in Assam, the elephant corridors in Assam. This was published by WTI. And with this, I will finish my presentation today. Hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am, for your insightful talk. Now we'll have a conversation between. Hold on. Now we are going to have a conversation between Dr. Bhaskar Choudhury and Miss Priyanka Borah on elephants' movement, corridor quality, and its functionality. Before we begin, it's my honor to introduce Dr. Bhaskar Choudhury, sir, who is a wildlife veterinarian. He has worked for over 24 years now. Mainly, he has worked mainly in Northeast India, beginning his journey in 2000 at Kaziranga National Park. He played a key role in setting up the Center for Wildlife Rehabilitation and Conservation, which is India's first dedicated wildlife rehab facility. He has also worked across major protected areas, including Corbett and Manas tiger reserves, focusing on wildlife rescue, rehabilitation, and post-release monitoring. Dr. Chaudhary has been actively involved in managing healthcare of captive elephants in conservation efforts like the translocation of swamp deer, wild water buffalo, greater one-horned rhinos, Asian elephants, and Hulok gibbons. He has 21 research publications and has contributed to national protocols on elephant translocation and calf care. He is a member of the IUCN SSC Asian Elephant and Rhino Specialist groups, and currently he is a part of the team drafting India's national wildlife health policy under the Central Zoo Authority and MOEFCC. All right. Sir, I would request you to start your conversation. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Afnan, for a wonderful introduction, and also
All right, sir.
uh, the talk on elephant corridor was informative.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
so, Priyanka, I would like to start the conversation by with a question that most people are. I mean, the scientists also are divided into the exact definition of a corridor. So, what actually is a corridor is a matter of debate within the scientific fraternity, within elephant experts. But the common people, it's a very the term is widely used, and many a time I think mostly media uses this term very vaguely without any um, scientific approach towards it. So I think let's discuss what is a corridor, and when we say what is a functional corridor, these two terms I think people need to understand very well, so that these terms, which are used in most platforms today on elephant conservation, should be very clear in terms of what actually scientifically a corridor means.
Yes, sir, you are absolutely correct. So it's very important to understand these terms like corridors and what is structural corridors and what are functional corridors. Um, so mostly when like you said that this term is used very vaguely. It's true because most people think that corridor is just something like an extended area or like a patch between two forests, which is also like the structure is same, but what I think is that corridors have formed because the landscape has become fragmented. Like, what do you say, sir?
I think the simple definition that I tend to agree to is uh, a corridor is a connectivity between two animal habitats. Uh, if it is an elephant, it should connect to diverse habitats, like the corridors that we have in, say, example, Kaziranga and Karbi Anglong.
Yes.
So it should connect to habitats which are diverse and which are narrow,
Mm.
which cannot be a very large. I mean, most of the people, if you ask me, some of the corridors that are been also notified. In fact, the government of Assam has notified, I think, 9 corridors so far in 2018, and most of them are in Kaziranga Karbi Anglong landscape.
Yes, sir.
But actually, few corridors that have been notified are actually part of habitat. I mean, if you look at Kanchanjuri corridor,
Mm.
it's actually the national highway that is crossing through the habitat,
Mm.
and since the elephant moves through that part of the habitat, it has become a corridor. Um, um, and the functionality of the corridor, of course, we have seen that if you do a survey, Wildlife Trust of India did a survey way back in 2014, I think, and they come up with 101 corridors, which has increased when the Ministry of Environment and Forest and we ourselves did the survey after 5 years. I think what we are creating is, if there is a if there is uh, a loss of habitat, and it creates some bottleneck within the habitat itself, I think
Mm.
we are trying to create more corridors within habitats, which is actually uh, will not serve
Serve its
good
purpose.
purpose. Yes,
Yes.
and Northeast India a little different, because we have corridors which are interstate between two states,
Mm.
and also we have some international corridors as well.
Mm.
So, like for example, you have said Manas and Bhutan.
Mm.
So there are corridors which are regularly being used by the same elephant population. So the functionality, you have said, what do we mean by functional corridor? But if you look at the the publication made by the government of Assam in 2008, they try to delineate elephant population into elephant ranges. And if you can share the screen of the last slide that you have,
Yes, sir.
then it will be, I think, uh, the viewers can appreciate what we are talking about.
Yes. Can you see, sir?
Yeah, so you can very well see that there are international corridors and there are interstate corridors as well. Uh, Now, say for example, many people who have visited Guwahati will realize that there is a small wildlife sanctuary called Amchang Wildlife Sanctuary,
Mm.
and the elephant population there is close to about, I think, 40
Yes.
for now. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So those elephants were using some of the corridors to move towards Meghalaya, which is non-existent now. You can see the point
Yes, I did it.
24. Yeah, somewhere around there. So
Mm.
so that population has become isolated. They neither can move across the Brahmaputra nor on the south towards Meghalaya.
Mm.
Similar is the case for elephants in the, suppose, Majuli area. Majuli is
Yes.
a is a
Yeah.
one of the largest river island we have in Assam, and suddenly in 2003, I think some 101, 102 elephants appeared in Majuli, and that population is ranging close to Majuli for almost 21 years now, 22 years now. and the population has increased. Now, those elephants probably are not using any corridor, but it's probably one of those events where we have seen long-ranging um, elephants that we saw in China, and probably this is the case for India and Assam. So some of the ecological questions that will probably come to our mind is what is the impact on the remaining habitats that were there for such long migration, and what is the impact on the people and people's lives and properties, and uh, uh, their 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 lives and property. So, the concept of corridors and the concept of uh, of functional corridors and keeping it functional for elephants to move may not hold always true in those circumstances that we just talked about. The population is Amchang is isolated. The population is Majuli. We are not sure how they are ranging, but they are definitely using that tiny island for foraging as well as resting, and they are breeding. So, and in fact, the same case is for southern Assam. If you go towards inner line reserve forest, there was a corridor in Bangladesh connecting India and Bangladesh, but it is no longer there, and there are about 10 or 12 elephants there. So, coming back to the question that we wanted to ask is that we can keep on identifying and notifying corridors, but it has it actually helped in managing habitats and thereby managing elephant population better and reducing the negative impact of human-wildlife interface. So I think those are the questions that I think these are research questions that I think more and more students should come across and uh, and try to find answers to all those. Yeah.
Also, sir, like I would like to, since you said there are isolated populations, so, sir, are those populations like will they remain viable in the long run if there is no connectivity? Like,
Uh, yes. So if you look at the Majuli population for now, so we know that this appeared, or this group of elephants, about 101. They're of sizable numbers. So they have survived for last 23 years, and they are breeding, and if you look at their population dynamics also, it is good. So we are not sure whether such populations uh, will thrive for next 50 years or so, and what is their ecological role being there in thickly populated human habitats. So although they seem that there are certain populations which are doomed, like the Guwahati Amsang population. They're only 40 individual, and they will probably either disperse to other areas, like the Majuli herd has done, or they'll be wiped out in next 30 to 40 years. That is what I think about those small isolated populations.
yes, sir. So, sir, we should concentrate more on looking like where the populations are already there. We should try to um, conserve or what do you say, make the quality of the habitat good there itself, or we should concentrate more on like the connectivity which we spoke about. Like people nowadays they talk only about connectivity, connecting landscapes, connecting spaces, connecting habitats. So which one do you think, sir, is more important according to your perspective?
No, I think what we are losing is elephant habitats.
Yes.
It's no longer some of the elephant habitats are going by the year. The forest that you see today may not be there tomorrow after a year. we are losing elephant habitats. So even if we have connectivity, if the habitat is not there, then elephant won't be moving there.
Hmm.
So, and the other thing is now Government of India and the Project Elephant has realized, and they have published also that the elephants are no longer needs to be managed only in protected or forest habitats, but they are ranging mostly on protected areas and also more on the revenue areas. It depends on the season. So I think even if we improve habitat of some of these ranges, it is a question whether these elephants will choose to use those habitats or move totally in different directions. So I think it's the habitat that we are losing, and thereby, even if you have a structural corridor, these corridors have never been used by elephants, but there is some other route that they have chosen and moved out because they will move. You cannot probably prevent them from moving.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
so I think we can move to question and answers, and then we can
Yes.
also
Yes,
discuss
sir.
discuss.
We can
Yeah.
discuss this with Shayan more since he has been working in this landscape on elephants.
Thank you
Uh,
so much, Dr. Chaudhary and Ms. Borah, for that thoughtful and engaging conversation. Ma'am, you were saying something?
no, no, I was about to call you to
All right,
introduce.
all right, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am and sir. It was truly insightful. Now we are about to end the event with a Q&A session, which will be moderated by Mr. Sayan Banerjee. I'm honored to introduce Mr. Sayan Banerjee, who is an interdisciplinary conservation researcher. He has explored various issues pertaining to conservation and governance, human-wildlife interactions, conservation and
Can you just
development.
share your screen? I think your screen is not shared.
I have shared my screen, sir. Is it not visible?
We can see it. Naveen,
Okay,
it's visible.
fine, fine, fine. Okay,
All right, all right,
it's
all
not
right.
see.
Okay.
I can see the screen, but it's the old screen that was shared by Priyanka.
Yeah, yeah. So can you get in
So
the
is
science
my
slide?
screen visible? So yeah,
I can see the slides.
it is visible, sir.
Oh, is it? Okay, I'm just seeing the old slide only, so I just got confused. Sorry, continue.
All right, sir. So I was telling that as a part of his master's and PhD work, Mr. Banerjee carried out long-term research in Boroland, Assam, in order to understand how people and wild Asian elephants interact in areas with forests, farms, and tea estates. Through the lenses of political ecology and animal ecology, Mr. Sayan Banerjee explored how environmental and social history and contemporary socio-ecology manifest specific forms of human-elephant interaction. He has also published extensively in peer-reviewed journals, edited volumes, and popular media. So, sir, I kindly request you to continue your Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, Afnan, for the lovely introduction. So it was wonderful to listen to Priyanka as well as Bhaskar da, and truly the presentations has both the presentations. I mean, the presentation by Priyanka and the conversation between Priyanka and Bhaskar da has provided a lot more questions which are very important for future, not only for conservation of elephants and its habitats, but also for research on elephant uh, and its ecology as well as uh, and its interaction with humans as well. So so I would like to open the forum for the audience to bring the questions to the table. I think the audience can write the question in the chat box, or they can raise their hands as well. I can directly go to them and ask them to unmute themselves and ask the question. Meanwhile, since if the audience is thinking about the questions, I can just start kind of the Q&A session with one of my questions. So both Priyanka and Bhaskar that talked about like isolated populations of elephants, and which is like increasingly happening over across the Assam landscape, in Amchang, in Majuli, even examples. But also, which is very common in across India as well, which are being called now doomed population. So my question is, are they truly doomed? Because as we are our own observations as well as observations from fellow researchers are showing us that elephants are adapting to certain landscapes, areas, or places which were never thought of being an elephantine space before. For example, a lot of elephants are now adapting to urban landscapes, to many monoculture farms, or any other even scrublands. They are traveling to different places which were uncolonized for last 50, 60, or 100 years. So they are adapting. So in this scenario, do we have enough evidence or data in terms of elephants' lives or their health or their population health to say that certain population is really doomed or not? Either Priyanka or Bhaskar can take this question.
Hi, Shayan.
Hi, Priyanka.
Yes, so I mean, I am not sure about the health, but as we can see a trend, like if I can say with respect to other wildlife also, if a wildlife gets accustomed with or habituated with anthropogenic resources, I'm not sure if you'll call it doom or not, but it's definitely not a good what do you say, a good choice for them because it will affect their health. Anthropogenic resources like anthropogenic food in urban spaces where we see like elephants only, for example. I will give the example of the elephant, the tusker that moves around in the Narangi campus in the near Guwahati, the army cantonment area. So there is a tusker which moves around in that space, and it feeds on everything like the market space, the vegetables, and the garbages that is there in the beans. And it also interacts with humans sometimes, like recently there has been a video where during Holi it came to the campus and it was not playing Holi, but people were assuming that it was also playing Holi, and they were making videos and then they were like making fun of it. But for me, I think these resources are not meant for a wild animal. So even if they feed on it and they might get the proportion of protein or carbohydrate, whatever it is, but they won't get the nutritional value that they will get from a forest plant or food from the forest. So isolated population, they are adaptive, and they elephants, since everyone is saying they're adaptive and they are adapting to urban scapes, but I think in the long run it will definitely impact their health, and it might show in terms of their reproductive success, even if it has not shown until now, but maybe in the long run it might show their like because of a shorter range, if they don't move, then other kind of behavioral changes might be there. So with respect to health perspective, I think Bhaskar sir can give us more light into that situation, since he has some knowledge in that perspective. But I feel that yes, it will definitely affect the population if they, even if they're adapting, then there will be definitely some consequences.
Bhaskar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's a matter of research, but if you believe in visual observations that we encounter elephants in all the elephant ranges But if you look at closely, the population of elephants in North Bank, especially around Manas, and population which are mostly, say, the Golaghat population or the population around Udalguri and Sonitpur district, which mostly thrive on paddy and human agriculture as their major source of food, one of the major source of food. The body condition, you can see a drastic change. They look very well fed, but nutritionally that may not be a balanced diet that they are getting. So it will definitely have an impact on their health and ultimately the genetic health of the population. The Narangi Taskar, when he came to Guwahati city up to the middle of the city also, and we got an opportunity to study its blood serum chemistry, which is very interesting. I mean, it's the the fact that it is only accessing energy-rich food and not a balanced diet is evident in its minerals and mineral status, blood mineral profile. So the effects will be evident in subsequent times. So it is a matter of great research for young veterinarians and biologists uh, on different populations that are thriving on different food and diet. If you look at the Manas, Bhutan, and Bengal landscape, the elephant general health and the health of the Kaziranga elephants, Kaziranga Karbi Anglong elephants, and the health of the uh, Golaghat and your Sonitpur elephants and health of Dibrosukha elephants is quite different because they are foraging on some are foraging on monotonous diet and some are foraging on a balanced diet probably. So it's a matter of research, but we have a few examples to give which we haven't published, but those elephants which are mostly obligatory crop raiders, we got an opportunity to capture them for if they are injured somewhere or during retaliation. We got an opportunity to study their blood chemical profile, and which is interesting, which says that they are not healthy as it should be as in terms of what we scientifically define health as such. They look bulky, they are very fat, their fat deposits are quite full, but they're not healthy as such. So those will have a long-term effect on the genetic viability of those populations for sure. Yeah.
Thanks, Bhaskar. That is the exact right. I mean, exact answer that was I was looking for, because as you said that the Golaghat, Udalguri populations are well well fed in terms of paddy, as well as their body condition across the year remains very nice, which is like truly remarkable. But also, as you mentioned, that health is not really being bulky or being fat all the time, which is really has a connotation to our human health also, because we are uh, as time progresses, we have also increased our consumption of salt and sugar and become more bulky, but our health is deteriorating. It's kind of similarity that we are finding. So we have a question from Janavi. Janavi is asking that how we as individuals contribute to corridor conservation, no matter what part of the country we belong to.
Okay, Sayan, I just give a very short answer. One is
Right.
that since corridors are not legal entities, so they are not protected. So if you ask a question that who are monitoring the corridors today, it's actually nobody. If you ask me if they are not in the vicinity of protected areas, other corridors are not being monitored for their land use or how the elephants are being used constantly. So we need probably citizen science forum like citizen science who can be a part of that monitoring team for elephant corridors.
Right. Thank you, Bhaskar. Priyanka, do you want to take the question?
Yeah, as Bhaskada said that there are no one that protect, like there is no legal protection for corridors. So as I will say in terms of general public, while we are moving across the highway and like we know that people do often use those patches near the highway which do serves as corridor, like in Kaziranga, Karbi Anglong only, we have seen many people, they just get down of the car and they use just for a momentary pleasure, they will stand by those places, click pictures. But while doing so we should always be considerate and behave like a responsible citizen, like whatever is in our capability, like not throwing waste in the corridors if possible, not use plastics nearby, even if we use it we don't throw it there, and maybe tell people that these are active animal movement areas, and we can just try to um, behave responsibly near those areas, and this is also important for our own safety as well. So yes, that's it.
Thank you, Priyanka. I hope, Janavi, you have got your answer. So there is a statement from Shangari to everyone, is that as elephant adapts the changes around the environment, uh, so it's a question actually. So if he or she is asking that if elephant adapts to the changes around its environment, will there be a significant change in the ecosystem because of the behavioral change of the elephant actually?
Again, it's a question of research,
Right.
so I don't know if certain amount of research has been done until now or not. But yes, since elephant is a keystone species, and if its behavior changes, there might be certain changes in the ecosystem too, because that a species is always linked with the food web, and the ecosystem balance ultimately is related, like linked with the food web. So one species disrupts from the food web will obviously have certain amount of impact on the overall food web. So yeah, that's it.
Right.
I mean,
So, yeah.
Shayan, you can, I think you can answer this question better.
So difficult to answer actually, because as you said, that's elephants' lives as well as status of ecosystems are so long term that
Yeah.
we cannot say at this moment that it will change. Obviously, if we do a long term monitoring of both elephant behavior vis-a-vis ecosystem changes, so we should see some kind of shifts. Because
Yes.
one key observation across all kinds of landscape has been that if an elephant becomes kind of constrained within smaller areas, that smaller area gets heavily kind of devastated almost, because elephants depend upon all those resources in a smaller area. So if suppose the elephant becomes kind of constrained within Amchang, I'm sure that there would be quite uh, difference in ecosystem structure over say even over 5-10 years. Uh, so moving on, so Bhaskar has, I think, left the chat because he has to attend some emergency. So I think he's a vet. So I think he has got a emergency situation right now. So if you have any question towards Bhaskar Das, so please feel free to share here or over email, so we can share with him as well. Meanwhile, we have one question from Rudra. He's asking that what are the I think it's a kind of question for the kind of seasoned researchers like Priyanka or anyone else here, they can also answer that what are the challenges that you have faced during your field work and how did you overcome it? I think it's a kind of important question for students as well.
Shayan, would you like to take that? It's an important question that you can
Yeah,
also
yeah.
answer.
So in terms of challenges, there could be many kinds of challenges. So as a researcher, you have to. So I will talk about like a researcher from who was doing a PhD. So for a PhD, we get a lot of time to deal with our research questions, plan field work, then collect data, then analyze. So a lot of time we have. But if you are in an organization or in a small or doing MSc or anything other, which requires to deliver results within short span of time, so our research questions are becomes like that. We don't get to know our field very well. We try to get more data in short amount of time without knowing the field. By field, I mean by not knowing the place, not knowing the people, not knowing the elephants.
The actual problem.
Yeah. So I think if you are planning research on any wildlife, any place, just negotiate with your supervisor or with your whoever is handling your project that you want to spend time in field. Just you don't have to get data all the time. Just observe the lives of elephants or people that are going on and on. So I think that's one key challenge and how to overcome that. Priyanka, do you want to add anything?
I think the other key challenge that researchers we face in our lives while doing fieldwork is funding. I
Right.
cannot I
Absolutely.
cannot not stress on that. Like it's a very important thing. Without funds, we are nothing. We can't do any field work. Even we have very wonderful ideas in our head, and we are thinking that we will do this, we will do that. We know this kind of problems are happening, and we should go and look at it, but we don't have funds, so we can't do anything. But in the initial phase, that will be a problem. So to overcome that, normally if we are interested in this field, I would suggest first, if you don't have money to go to the field, you can just start with literatures. There are not only literature, there are various media this like at today's time. It's not just research articles, there are gray literature, there are other materials, and social media has so many platforms. So what we can do is, we might not be in the field, but we can, sitting right here in front of the laptop, we can learn about many things, and actually we can try to figure out what the actual problem is, the bigger problem that we want to work on. Maybe that will also help us figure out and sort out our ideas. We might have something in our mind, but after going to field, it's very different. You design a study while sitting here, but once you go to the field, the scenario will change altogether. So before going to field only, I feel, if you have sorted out your ideas that you want to do this, you know the bigger problem, you just need to figure out what you need to do when you reach field. So until the funding comes, so we like, rather than stressing that, oh, there is no fund and I can't do any work, we can maybe, that's how you can get involved to this field, and you can also share your inputs, you can write your thoughts, and you can publish those things, and that is how you can contribute to the field without doing field work. Because for field work, yeah, you need money. That's a bitter truth. Yeah.
Right, right. Thank you, Priyanka, for pointing that out.
Yeah.
So I would also like to ask Rudra. So you can unmute yourself, and if you have particular challenges in your mind which you are kind of facing, maybe you can unmute yourself and ask that question directly. We can take one kind of challenge from you as well, Rudra.
Can they unmute themselves by themselves?
They don't have the permission.
Okay. So, Rudra, if you have a particular challenge in your mind, you can type in here. I can ask that. Meanwhile, I can go to the next question. I think, and that question is probably should be answered by Priyanka only because I don't have that capacity to answer that. The question by Haley is that is there any other method to find out plant species other than planting them from the dung?
Yeah, like I mean, is she particularly asking about seed dispersal, how to understand what seeds are dispersed from the dung? I mean, that
So,
is not clear,
so
but if she's asking that,
I think she's asking a simple question that if we want to understand plant species from plant species, what they are maybe eating or consuming.
Okay.
If you want to understand, if you are collecting dung from it, so other than planting that dung in controlled or treatment conditions, what other method you can follow from that dung to identify the species?
So, as far as my knowledge, um, you have to collect the dung anyway. If you want to understand what plants they have eaten, and if you want to see the germination of those plants. But if you just want to identify what plants they have eaten, you can just collect the dung and then you can take out the seeds. There are seed experts. You can take it to some herbarium or some person or researcher who is working on seeds, and they might be able to identify the seeds. A more expensive way to do that is DNA meta barcoding. You can do, like, you can take the seeds and then you can do DNA analysis to identify to which plant it belongs to. But I think planting it is the most easiest way. And if you don't want to see it through a dung, you can just observe the species, what it's eating on a day-to-day basis and follow. But that is also a very long process. So yeah, collecting dung and planting those seeds, I think it's much easier, and it's cost free.
Right. So Rudra, thank you, Priyanka, about that. So Rudra has kind of explained the challenges that he's facing. So, so Rudra is curious to know about how to negotiate with the government officials as well as other stakeholders while performing fieldwork on wildlife in general. Tricky question. Maybe I can just start and then Priyanka can join. So basically, if you are suppose you want to carry out field work on wildlife in protected areas or in some place which are managed by a particular department, which is a forest department in most of the cases, you have to get a permit from them if you want to observe elephants or collect some plant material or some kind of wildlife science you are doing in those areas. You have to get a permit. So in most in and the ways of obtaining permit and the time that takes for obtaining those permits, I think vary across states. Some states are really kind of they are very researcher friendly and they provide the permits in less time. Some states take a lot of time. So and then you have to probably during obtaining those permits, you have to submit proposals as well, that how your research, what is the research about, how the methodology, what kind of biological material you will be collecting, or what kind of science you will be doing, and how is it benefiting your research, the forest department, and the species also. So I think that is the government officials that are there. Secondly, other stakeholders, there are a lot of stakeholders. So there could be other departments within the government. There could be other stakeholders which are from the local community or local governance, basically, say a village council or a panchayat or the local say MP, MLA or whatever. So I think it's a better way to do it is basically to just first, before starting fieldwork, just talk to these, identify these institutions as and important individuals, and then go and talk to them that this is your research and this is what you want to do. Also, if you are doing a research in a sensitive areas, so I think police becomes a very important stakeholder because of your own safety, as well as so that your work doesn't seem like very suspicious. So you have to understand who the stakeholders are in your area, both government and non-government, and then negotiate them in general. By negotiation, I mean try to talk to them about your research, about the method, about the objective, and the time that you will take. Where are you from? And also take letters from your institutions and supervisors with you when you are doing field work. Uh, Priyanka, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you have said everything. That's right.
Okay. I think Rudra, I think that should suffice your question. So I have a question from Sangari, is that is there any flora and flora species that can't survive with the help of elephant? So is there any flora or fauna species which cannot survive without the elephant?
Um, Okay, again, as per my knowledge, I think very few species that like are there which are completely dependent on elephants. But there are species that are highly dependent, like the three species that I mentioned on my presentation, which produces seeds with hard coat. So they require elephants or mega herbivores to germinate their seed or disperse their seed through the dung. And obviously there are other small what do you say, there will be insects, scavengers, ones that will feed on the elephant's carcass. But I'm not sure if there are any flora or fauna species that can't survive with the help of elephant. I think we need to look at that properly. I'm seriously not sure. I think they are highly dependent. Some of the species are highly dependent, but entirely dependent, I have not heard of it.
Right, right. Thanks, Priyanka. So, we have our next question from Suman. Is that does human-wildlife conflict in the context of elephant conservation raises during must breeding season of elephants, and as it needs more energy in those landscapes? Right. So, is there any observation from you, Priyanka, on this?
I don't have any particular observation, but yeah, I think it's not particularly during must, because it also happens. I mean, I have seen herds of elephant coming, and it's not just only elephant with must. So maybe you can answer that better since you are working in human wild elephant interactions.
Right. So, what I want to say is basically it happens across all kinds of seasons for elephants, but during must season, what happens is basically the aggression of few individuals of individual elephants that increases quite a lot. Mostly, the male elephants, which are not really experienced or matured enough to handle situations where a lot of people are around uh, and they don't know how to handle the situation. So during must also they need energy, they need more food. So I don't know if there is one-to-one relation, but probably their tendency to explore more food in human spaces. For example, uh, um, uh, human houses or kitchens becomes more during must season. I don't know if there is a correlation, but a kind of anecdotal observation is like that because in the place where I generally I have done my work is the elephants which have must kind of uh, do more damages towards people's houses, kitchens, and take more risk to go to places such as in the middle of the village, basically not around the village, in the middle of the village, or to they're accessing roads in the villages to go to particular houses which have, say, stored grains or salt in their places. So in that way, yeah, must season is is a difficult season for human elephant conflict, but it doesn't necessarily increase the conflict. And also the case the also how you define conflict is one thing, because if you are defining conflict only in terms of, say, number of deaths for people or elephant, there might not be any correlation between having must and having more number of deaths. But if you might want to correlate that having must and kind of behavioral shifts in particular individuals, uh, like risk-taking tendencies or exploration of more human spaces, I think there could be some correlation, but otherwise, it's not really the direct correlation between having must and increase in conflict. Right. So I don't think we have more questions here. So is if there are any more question in from the audience, can you please put them quickly in the chat box? Uh, and So I just want to ask Priyanka one thing. Since you have done your work in Gorbhanga area, I don't have much idea about Gorbhanga as well. So how was the forest structure over there, and did you find enough fruiting trees in Gorbhanga?
Enough fruiting trees.
Yeah, I mean trees which have fruit, with seeds as well as which were eaten by elephants, basically. Were they nicely spread across Gorbhanga?
So my sampling site was towards the Rani range, not the Gorbhanga range.
Right. Okay.
But I can tell you about the overall structure of the forest, like how there are a lot of bamboo breaks. So it's a mixed moist deciduous forest. So the patches are mostly sal forest. It's a sal forest patch. And towards the Gorbhanga range, it's all like there is a lot of felling and logging is going, like it was going on at that time. I am not sure about the current situation. I'm talking about 2018-19. So at that time it was highly encroached. And about fruiting trees that I found was there were Delinia and Bohemia, and I don't remember quite how what were the other fruiting trees, but yeah, it was a moist mixed deciduous forest, and bamboo breaks were there. So I think that gives you an overall idea of the forest structure.
Right. So even my observation from Udalguri landscape is that, so whenever I used to encounter dung, I used to check if there is any seed or not.
Huh.
I haven't found any dung which is outside forest areas which had any seeds.
Hmm.
None at all. So I also did not find any plastic also, which is good, but
Hmm.
the dung was completely fibrous. I so and from the forest, whenever I used to encounter dung, so only during the fruiting season of Dillenia, that is the elephant apple,
Hmm.
I had found some dung which had Dillenia seeds.
Hmm.
Otherwise, there is no other seeds at all. I mean, not noticeable. So, which also gives a kind of idea about the status of the forest. Uh, so yeah. So if there is any no other question, so maybe we can end this
Yeah.
session.
Yeah.
So Naveen, will you do the honors or
All right.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'll
I
continue. I'll continue.
yeah, I
Yeah, yeah,
think yeah.
thank you,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Banerjee and Miss Bora, for taking the time to answer the questions so thoughtfully. So before we conclude, a question came to my mind. If I may ask, can
Yeah,
I
yeah,
ask,
sure.
sir?
Yeah, yeah,
All
sure.
right.
Sure.
What are some practical ways in which students like us we can contribute to elephant conservation, even if we are not directly working on the field?
Shayan.
So even if you are not directly working on the field, so maybe if you are interested in doing literature-based research, then you can do that. Otherwise, otherwise, uh, maybe how do I say? If you don't want to, if you don't not doing field work in
All
field.
right, sir.
No, I'm just thinking. So basically, you can go through literature and then you can write. Also, one way to contribute is writing popular media articles, because we write scientific literature, but it's only gets narrow readership within the scientific community and doesn't get out that well. But popular media article, let's say in the newspapers or in online media, or if you have your own blog, you can write them. You can. So as Surendraji also was saying that we have to continue the discussions and debates. You may have some questions you are not finding answer, but if you pose that question to others through your writing or through your blogs, or even make reels, why not, with those questions. So we can generate those discussions and debates. Probably that way we can contribute. Also, if we find if we find problems that suppose certain forest areas are getting chopped down or getting there are some issues with land conversation from forest to non-forest, you can raise your voice. You can raise your voice and get some more people, like-minded people, and do and do a kind of uh, demonstration on the street. That will help.
Oh,
So I think those are important things. We should not get bogged down by our academics. We should uh, talk to different stakeholders about, like, why are you not taking care of our elephants? So I think that is important. Yeah, Priyanka.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. We should not just be limited with academia, and and it's not only about elephant conservation. So if you are worried about the larger problems that is going on in the environment, I think the first thing, again, I will say, like, charity starts at home. So we can be a responsible citizen, and nature education. So even if we are not part of academia, we can, if we have the knowledge, we know that something is, which is right and which is wrong, we know that. So we can't force people, we can just let them know the choices, and it is up to the other person which choice they take, right? So if you are passionate about conservation, if you are passionate about saving the future or whatever it is, it's not that after doing academia or something we will take the results and we will force onto people. We can't do that, but we will have that knowledge and we will have to share it to the larger public. And the way that we can do is what Shayan said, and we can do it through several media. Nowadays social media is so vast, you just through a click of the button you can reach the whole world. There is Twitter, Instagram, like when we can see in the news, the recent news about the Telangana University, where they were taking the whole forest down, and the students there, they came together and they raised their voices. They also signed petitions, they gathered the local public, and then they tried to raise their voice. So there are many ways, it's not just academia, it's not just elephant conservation. And one of the things that Naveen said around two three talks back, which actually like touched me, and it's very true, it all boils down to being a responsible citizen. If we are aware of things that is going around us, then we should be responsible of that. And if we have the capability of making the person next to us understand that, then that is enough, I think.
all right, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am and sir. So, Naveen, do you have anything to talk about before we conclude?
Yeah, but just to answer your question, right? I mean, I think Jania also had a similar question, and I think in most of the events or most of the conversations or most of the debates, this is not touched upon is excessive consumption of resources, right? See, at the end of the day, I think finally we can do our research, we can select species, we can do whatever we want, but at the end of the day, if we don't live a frugal life, I mean, because just imagine, I mean, if our ancestors had lived the way we are living now, I mean, none of the resources, none of the forests would have existed, right? So I think, I mean, like how Priyanka said, we can't force anybody. We can't, of course, the policy makers have a very important role, but at least as an individual, I mean, everything from, ordering on Amazon to, just we should question ourselves what is required, right? I mean, that is the only way where you can actually make a huge difference,
Yeah.
because what I see everywhere is from, I mean, I don't know about other countries, but in India you go anywhere, north, south, east, west, it's, I mean, couple of two three things are very evident. It's just construction, construction, construction everywhere, and excessive consumption of resources, right? Excessive, I mean, so, what I now tell the younger generation is we have no option. If we like, if we want to save our future, we should, stop, or we should at least be aware of, what this generation of excessive consumption is going to have. what is the effect it's going to have in the long term, right? So I just request, or at least, or even you can't force, you can just lead a life like that and hope that, people around you and, people get motivated or, or understand such a kind of living. Otherwise, I think I'm not sounding negative, but I mean it's quite obvious the direction in which we are going, and it's not, it doesn't require rocket science to predict what is going to happen in the future. Right? So we just have only limited resources. So finally, it's going to get over, and nature will do what it needs to, what it will. I mean, the effect of destroying nature will have to face it. Right? So that's it. I mean, just think about before consuming anything, just think if it's really required, and what is the effect of consuming, right? So thanks,
Correct, sir.
thanks Sayan, thanks Priyanka, thanks, I think Bhaskar is not here, and of course Afnan, thanks for a great event. I think a lot of points were touched upon, a lot of course unanswered questions, but I think a lot of very important points were touched upon, and it's food for thought for everybody. And it was a great session. Thank you everybody for your time, and also the audience. I think we had a good interactive audience. And sorry about unmuting, because generally we just have a protocol of just not um, allowing people to unmute and talk, because sometimes it just goes on and on. There is counter questioning, and sometimes even the questioning is like it just, it's not good for the guests sometimes, the aggressive questioning, or so that's why we just keep it through chat. So sorry about that. But thank you everybody, thanks once again, and the recording would be out on YouTube in a couple of days, so that I'll put out. So if there is nothing else, I think we can end the session.
Yes, so we can.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks
Afnan.
Naveen, thanks
Thank
Priyanka,
you.
thanks the audience, and
Thank you,
thanks
Sayan.
Afnan.
Thank you
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank
Closing the
you.
session. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir.